Yo, yo. Alright, I think we might be cooking with gas. Probably just wait for a person or two to join, but very excited. What's good, everyone? Welcome along to JDB Select's tips and predictions for round 13. Doing something a wee bit different this week and going for the live version. Very nervous, very excited, so looking forward to seeing how these go. Obviously, it'll save me a bit of time streaming these as opposed to all of the time it takes for me to put them together, edit, and things like that. So, yeah, super excited. Hopefully, doing it live also means that we get a better chance to engage with each other. You can obviously leave some questions, any feedback in the chat there. I'll try and answer as much as I can. But yeah, looking forward to trying something new and hopefully still providing some cool content for you guys. What are we at? 14 viewers. How good. Must be a bloody record. 21. There we go. What's good, Nathan? I appreciate the support, bro. Cheers for tuning in. We'll just give it one more minute and then we'll kick on to last week's results. As always, starting first with last week's results. Now, let me tell you, last week, as I'm sure for anyone with half a rugby league brain, was a tough round for tipping. We tipped 4 out of 8 games, started the week really strong, had the Doggies getting up over the Dragons. The Cowboys did a number on the Tigers. Didn't have Manly beating the Storm on my bingo card, but there you go. The Roosters obviously stormed home against the Raiders. The Sharks were held to a donut against the Panthers. Again, didn't see that coming. In hindsight, though, I probably shouldn't have tipped against Penrith, given their performance the week prior. But it is what it is. Rabbitohs got past the Eels in a real poo slinger there on Saturday. And then 2 big upsets on Sunday with the Titans getting past the Broncos. And then the Warriors actually defeating the Dolphins at home, which is a real shame. Obviously being my team, I tipped against them and that they couldn't get it done. So disappointing there, but it is what it is. We live and learn. Still running at over 60% for the week though, so super stoked with that. But man, what a tough few weeks of tipping. I'm sure from what I've seen in the tipping comp, it's been a real struggle for most people. Not too many perfect rounds, which just goes to show how competitive the competition is this year, which does make for interesting viewing and good viewer numbers, but it certainly doesn't make for good tips. Yeah, Nathan, I am based in New Zealand, so holding it down from the other side of the Tasman. All right, let's get stuck in. Actually, sorry, before we get stuck in, let's have a look at our tipping comp ladder. So if you don't know by now, we do run a subscribers tipping comp. We've got 3 massive prizes this year, so we do have 2 tickets to the grand final. We have an NRL jersey of your choice for next season. And we also have a $50 NRL shop voucher for 3rd place. So 3 massive prizes up for grabs. If you are interested in joining the tipping comp, the link is in the video description. So check that out. We'll obviously, we're a fair chunk through the season now. So join ASAP if you are keen, because you obviously have a better chance of getting some of those prizes if you join now. So speaking of the tipping comp, Cronulla holds down top spot. 2 tips clear of the next closest in Brighton, 75. Coach Killer, not too far away. The Real Enigma, Auntie, and Manawatu Turbo, all tied on 65. Manawatu Turbo's obviously taken a few steps back in the past few weeks, mate. But nonetheless, you're still right there. So good luck to you, Cronulla. Good luck to everyone else in the tipping comp this week. Let's get stuck into what is hopefully what is certainly a shorter round, but hopefully an easier round to tip in round 13. Yeah, Nathan, that's right. The Storm do play the Warriors over here. That's the 15th of June, I believe. Very much looking forward to that. Potentially a good time to catch the Storm with Munster out, but yeah, we've obviously got like a 14-game losing streak against them, so certainly a tough game, but glad that it is in New Zealand, and hopefully we can finally break that streak at home. All right, round 13 gets underway on, I believe it's Friday night with the, Thursday night, is it? Thursday night, sorry. With the 15th place Parramatta Eels taking on the first place Cronulla Sharks at CommBank Stadium. All right, starting first with the Eels, they couldn't begin life without Brad Arthur getting a win, and they were pumped by the Rabbitohs 42 points to 6. I thought the Eels fought back pretty well from 22-0 down. They certainly looked better when they spread that ball wide and were producing some offloads. They really struggled, though, to make good use of Latrell Mitchell spending 10 minutes in the bin. They only scored one try with that one-man advantage, and so, I mean, if you can't score points with that one-man advantage, good luck doing it against the full contingent. I thought both back rowers in Sean Russell and Bryce Cartwright looked good on both edges, but really didn't get enough ball, in my opinion. I think Cartwright had a few runs where he scheduled a few players, but again, only with five or six runs. I mean, that's just not enough to really have much of an impact on the outcome of the game. Oh, sorry, and before we keep going, I just want to announce we do actually have a new, or the first ever, betting sponsor or odds sponsor of the channel. I completely forgot. I got too excited, obviously, being live with you guys, but we do have, as you can see on screen there, SpinBet have come on board as the sponsor for the video. Really, really excited to have SpinBet on board. They're just in the process of getting their sportsbook off the ground, so I'm really excited to be the first sporting, content creator to partner with them. We've got some awesome things planned down the track, including, special boosted odds just for my subscribers. I've got some plans to do, let the Discord members choose what odds we boost, so that way you guys are actually getting what you want out of this partnership. So really, really excited to have SpinBet come on board. If you do want to check them out, there are two QR codes on screen. One is obviously for the Discord, and one is for SpinBet. So if you do want to become a member of our Discord, it is completely free. We had a massive week in the Discord last week. We tipped 3 first try scorers at $34 odds, $21 odds, and $26 odds. That was all free. We were one leg short of hitting an $86 banger on Sunday. And so, yeah, join the Discord and also check out SpinBet. Big thank you to those guys for coming on board to sponsor these videos. Check them out as well. All right, cool. Sorry, getting a bit distracted. First live stream, but here we go. All right, and as for the Sharks, they were dealt a massive reality check. Beaten by the 3-time defending Premier Panthers, being held scoreless at home, 44 points to 0. I mean, geez, that was a brutal reality check for the Sharks. They conceded 2 tries in the opening 8 minutes, and they never really recovered. They only saw 39% of the ball, which is just, crazy, especially considering how strong they have been in recent weeks. Collectively, they only managed to just cross over 1,000 run meters as a team, which is, crazy considering how dominant some of their back five have been in recent weeks. And when, some players can notch up 300 on their own in games, I mean, just crazy. They obviously did lose Nico Hines to an HIA in the first half, and he never came back out after the break due to the scoreline and his ongoing calf tightness injury, I guess. But, no excuse there. The game was gone in that opening 30 minutes. And they made 15 errors, right, and missed 54 tackles. You can't do that against the 3-time defending Premier Panthers, especially not after they were beaten the week prior. So in hindsight, backing the Sharks was probably not the best tip, but they'll obviously want to show a lot this week, similar to the Panthers, and bounce back after a really, really disappointing showing. All right, looking at the two sides head-to-head, the Sharks, they have won 8 of the last 11 games against the Eels. The live odds currently have the Sharks at $1.46 favourites, with the Eels coming back at $2.75. The points line is currently 6.5 points, and the over and under is 46.5 points. Now, the other awesome thing about doing these videos live with you guys on Tuesdays is we can actually look at the teams list. So a lot of comments used to I guess, have a dig at why I did them on Monday before teams were announced. So now that we, I guess, can look at teams, let's do that. So obviously, if you haven't already seen, 2 massive ins for the Parramatta Eels this week, with both Mitchell Moses and Clint Gutherson named to play. Obviously, the heart and soul of that side is Clint Gutherson. And obviously the kicking game of Moses has been something they've severely lacked in recent weeks. I think the inclusion of Moses can really turn around their forward pack too. I think he can take a lot of... his long kicking game reduces a lot of fatigue within their forwards. He can obviously put that fatigue into Cronulla's side by forcing them to bring the ball out of their end and turn the ball over in the right place. So I think Moses unlocks a lot more than just their attack. He also really does free up their forward pack as well. That's probably the two big changes for the Eels. Obviously, they lose Jermaine Hopgood, though, who is making his Origin debut. So congrats to Jermaine. Thoroughly deserved. And on the other side of the coin, you've obviously got both Nico Hines and Cameron McInnes out for the Sharks. So obviously, pretty big losses for the Sharks. But all in all, fairly unchanged lineup outside of that. Braden Trindle does come back in at number 7. Obviously following, I believe, his first game since his criminal incident, I guess we'll call it. So interested to see how he goes. But yeah, on paper, two very, very strong sides. Yeah, really, really good sides. Alright, so in terms of tip, it's tough because you've got, like I say, the Sharks pack has been one of the most formidable in the competition all year. Their bench rotation is just ridiculous. You've got the likes of Talakai, Hunt, Hamlin-Ueli and Rudolph coming off the bench fresh and just breaking games open. And then on the other side, you've got the Eels, who've had a really, really poor start to the season, albeit without their first choice fullback at number 7. I'm going to take the Eels, guys. I'm going to take the Eels 1 to 12. I think being at home is a big advantage. And like I just touched on, I really do think the kicking game of Moses is more than just an offensive tactic. I think it'll really put some fatigue into the Sharks' middles. They've got some really big bodies. Mike CJ, not good, not good. Alright, how's that? I've changed the mic. Sorry guys, I'm obviously not a streamer. Is that better? It probably doesn't sound as good, but is it not scratching anymore? Alright, sorry fam, I think we're good to go. The quality might be a little bit less... the quality might be a bit lower, but at least it won't sound like shit. So apologies. We'll obviously continue to build these live streams and make them seamless. But yeah, as I was saying, I'm going to take the Eels on this one by 1 to 12 points. I think being at home is a big advantage. I think Clint Gutherson being back will give them a massive boost, and obviously Mitchell Moses' kicking game, I believe, will really put some fatigue into Cronulla's big middle forwards. And if he can play well and play to the best of his ability, I do think the Eels can jag a very unlikely win against a Cronulla side missing their first choice 7 and 13. So Parramatta 1 to 12 for me. What are you guys saying in the chat? Who do we think takes out the first game of the week? Are we riding with the Eels? Or are we riding with the Sharks? And also, yeah, thanks for calling out the audio issues. I appreciate that. Really do. It's all new to me, this streaming thing. Eels easy, yeah, alright. Yeah. It's a tough one. I mean, these Origin affected rounds, you're really flipping a coin. And to be fair, if you look at the previous the last few weeks, there've been coin flips regardless of if they've been full strength or not. So just take a stab and good luck to you. Alright, moving now to the the only game on Friday this week, again being the Origin affected round. We have the 7th placed Newcastle Knights taking on the 10th placed Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs at McDonald Jones Stadium. Alright, starting first with the Knights, they had the bye last week, but the week prior produced an incredible second half comeback against the Gold Coast Titans in Magic Round, 28 points to 24. Standouts for me, obviously David Armstrong. He's just continued to impress, and he joins an ever-growing list of young, exciting, up-and-coming fullbacks. I thought their back five in particular were really, really strong in the second half. Greg Marju ran for over 250 metres and really brought them back into that game. And rather impressively, they are now undefeated, or still undefeated, should I say, without Kalen Ponga. I think they've won 4 or 5 straight now, which is really impressive because a lot of people, myself included, really did draw a line through them when Ponga went down. But credit to them for sticking at it and performing like they have. In terms of teams list for the Knights this week, Bradman Best is out, which does mean that a debutant, I believe. Oh, that's a name and a half. Christian Mapapalangi comes into the centres. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. I have not seen that name before. So he comes into the centres. Daniel Saifiti returns from suspension and takes a place on the bench. That is ahead of Jack Hetherington. So a fairly unchanged Newcastle Knights side. And as for the Doggies made it 5 straight wins at a core stadium for the first time since 2016 and produced their highest score since 2016, slaying the St. George Illawarra Dragons 44 points to 12. The Dragons, they started pretty fast and yardage penalties were killing the Dogs. Man, Toby Sexton, I called for Toby Sexton to come into the side from day one. You can go back and check my predicted teams list before the season started. But man, he was so good in that number 7 jersey for the Dogs. He dug deep into the line. He didn't die with the ball on the last tackle and added a ton of forward direction rather than lateral movement. So loved what I saw from Toby Sexton back in that side. Joshy Curran, my boy, obviously soft spot for Josh coming from the Warriors. But he was huge off the bench with 173 metres from just 19 runs in only 40 minutes. I mean, really impressive stint there. And then the last point I had was obviously Matt Burden produced a magnificent kicking class, worthy of an Origin recall, obviously. And he was near perfect off the boot. And he really did get the Dogs out of trouble a lot in that game. So, yeah, incredible performance from Birdo. However, he is gone this week, so he has earned himself an Origin recall. So both Matt Burden and Stephen Crichton are in the Blues side, so won't play this week. They've also lost Viliami Kikau, who is suffered, I believe, a broken finger that requires surgery. So we'll have Kicks will be gone for, I believe, 3 to 4 weeks at this stage, depending on how that injury goes. Looking at the two sides head-to-head, the Knights, they have won 5 of the last 7 games against the Dogs. However, the Dogs, they do have a very good record at McDonald Jones Stadium. They've won 7 of the last 10 meetings between the two sides. The live odds currently have the Knights as slight favourites at $1.68, with the Doggies coming back at $2.25. The points line is 2.5 currently, and the over and under wasn't up when I made the graphic. So you'll need to check out SpinBet if you do want to see the current over and under line. Ooh, another really tight game. I agree. I think it'll be a low scoring game. Jeez, this season's just something special. But I am going to take the Dogs here based on their defense. I think the Dogs have improved dramatically defensively this year. I believe going into last week they were the 3rd best defensive side in the competition. I'll just check that now. So they're now the 2nd best defensive side in the competition, which is just incredible. Super impressive considering how poor they were defensively last year. So for that reason alone, I am going to take the Dogs. Obviously, Kikau's a big loss. Crichton is a big loss, and Burton's a big loss. But with Toby Sexton in that side, I really do think that they can continue to score points. And again, maybe I'm selling the Knights short, but I do think the Doggies can get them back on the back of their defense. So Canterbury for me, 1 to 12. Alrighty then, and then moving now to the first of 2 games on Saturday this week. We have the 2nd placed Penrith Panthers taking on the 12th placed St. George Illawarra Dragons, or Dargans, at Bluebet Stadium in Penrith. All right, starting first with the Panthers. They handed the Cronulla Sharks a brutal reality check, holding them scoreless at home, 42 points to nil. I mean, I could sit here for 10 minutes and tell you how good the Panthers were. You could literally go through player by player of who stood up. But obviously, first port of call, Jerome Luai was absolutely unreal at halfback. Obviously, his best performance of the season. I believe he scored a try, set up 2 others with a few line breaks and close to 100 run meters. He had his hand in everything, and he obviously took that loss against the Warriors very personally. And obviously, off the back of that, he's also been recorded to the Origin side. So a really, really strong showing for Jerome Luai. Speaking of Luai, so he is out this week. So Jerome Luai, Brian To'o, Dylan Edwards, Liam Martin, and Isaiah Yeo are all in the New South Wales Blues side this year. So obviously a massive moment for Dylan Edwards, who has taken over from the incumbent captain and fullback James Tedesco, who's played something like 22 consecutive games in a row for New South Wales, which is really, really impressive. But I do think it's the right call. I don't know if they did it properly in terms of, I would have liked to have seen Teddy go out on his own, but it is what it is. They had that chance last season, our last series, and they didn't do it. But anyway, sidetrack. So obviously a lot of key players out for Penrith this week. All right, and as for the Dragons, they were unable to dig deep against the Bulldogs, finishing the game with just 15 men and fell over in the second half, 44 points to 12. I thought the Dragons looked good in the opening half, and Moses Sully was looking like he was in a right mood on that left edge. He obviously scored the opening try, and we tipped that in the Discord for, I think, a $22 or $26 bang. So if you are keen to join the Discord, scan one of those QR codes. It is free. All of my tips go out the day of the games, completely free. Follow them if you want. Don't if you want. I mean, we're I think close to 60 units year to date, so really, really good. If you'd followed every pick, you would have made a lot of money this season so far. So hopefully we can keep that going for the remaining part of the year. But anyway, back to the Dragons. They lost Hame Saleh and quite early in that game, and obviously Jack Bird went off just before half-time, which caused significant reshuffles in the second half. That left Kyle Flanagan defending on that left edge, and the Dogs identified that and capitalized. They kept going back to the well and just tore them to shreds. So obviously in terms of teams list, Jack Bird is out this week. Also out with Origin duties, Jaden Sewer and Ben Hunt for Queensland. And Zach Lomax has been called into the New South Wales Blues side to make his Origin debut on the back of a very, very successful year at wing, which is obviously, quite entertaining or quite amusing, considering he doesn't want to play on the wing and he's now earned himself a place in the New South Wales side off the back of it. But anyway, so big outs for the Dragons as well. It always is when you're number 7, your half, and a few key forwards and outside backs go. So it almost, in my opinion, levels the playing field against the Panthers. All right, looking at the two sides head-to-head, the Panthers, they have won 6 straight against the Dragons. The Panthers have also won 6 of the last 7 games against the Dragons at Bluebet. And the poor Dragons, they've only won once at Bluebet since 2009. So, I mean, the stats are saying go for Penrith, and that's what I'm going to do. I think, obviously, both sides without their first choice halves and a few players. But Penrith have shown time and time again, their depth, and their depth is stronger than, in my opinion, the Dragons' depth, right? You take Hunter out of that side, who's been their best. You take Lomax out of their side, who's been their player of the match in probably 80% of the games. You take Sewer out, who's also probably been one of their best in a few games this season. That's a lot of key players gone. Whereas you look at that Panthers lineup, they've still got Taruva, Tungor, Leota, Kenny, Fisher Harris, Sorensen. They still have such a strong side. And both Brad Schneider and Jack Cole have proven time and time again for the Panthers that they can step up to the plate and really play off the back of that massive platform left by their big forward pack. So for me, I do think the Panthers can win. So Penrith 1-12 for me. How we going? How's the stream, guys? I mean, appreciate any feedback in the chat. Obviously some Nice to see some comments coming through. Appreciate you, Han. You the GOAT, brother. Discord, yeah. Let's see some money. Let's see those dollar signs. Shout out Harley, Oos, Seri, all of you guys. Really do appreciate you guys tuning in. Obviously, like I say, this is the first stream. We'll obviously refine the process, make sure I'm not waffling too much. Really make sure you guys get the same benefit out of these streams as you did the original videos. And I also have plans of doing a NRL Best Bets video on a Wednesday or Thursday night. So if these do go well and there is interest, I'll obviously look to kick those off later in the week as well. All right, beautiful. Moving now to the next game of round 13. Bit of a showdown between the Redcliffe Dolphins, or the Dolphins, up against the Canberra Raiders at KO Stadium. All right, starting first with the Finns. Their poor record outside of Queensland continued, giving up yet another double-digit lead, this time against the Warriors, 24 points to 20. Man, I was obviously at that game. A great way to end the week. Herbie Farnworth, I thought, for the Dolphins was unreal on that left edge. He's been such a good buy for them. He's only going to get better as he builds some of those combinations. I thought Cody Nikorima was also really threatening around the ruck and off the ball all night. He's so elusive, Nikorima, and it's his lack of size that makes him that little bit more elusive than, say, your Herbie Farnworths or your Reece Walshes of the world, because he can kind of dip and duck. Very similar to an Api Coruscant. So he's been really good for the Dolphins, and I thought their back five were really strong. They did lack some punch through the middle, though. I think only one of their forward pack made over 100 run meters, which is, kind of interesting when you consider the amount of players the Warriors had out too, especially through their middle with AFB and Tohu Harris and stuff. So for the Dolphins to not really get that platform, it was a bit strange, but it is what it is. Also, Hammer had a bit of an off night. I mean, he scored a try, but he did make a few errors at the back, and the Warriors were able to capitalize. I think they obviously were forced to defend their line for at least maybe 3 sets in a row towards the end of that game, and they just couldn't defend it, and the Warriors ultimately broke through. But nonetheless, still a fairly decent showing for the Finns. In terms of teams list for the Dolphins this week, there are 2 players out for Origin, both Queenslanders in Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, who will play centre for the Maroons, and obviously Felice Kaufusi is also in the wider squad for Queensland. That does mean that young, exciting fullback, the train of young, exciting fullbacks continues, with Trey Fuller coming in that number 1 jersey. I mean, it's ludicrous that that man cannot get a start in first grade. He's absolutely electric, and I love watching him play. So I'm glad he gets to have a shot again in first grade this week. A few other people do return for the Finns as well. You've got Anthony Milford making his way back onto the bench, as well as Jared Wallace, Edric Lee, and a few others moving into that side, mainly in the reserves though. Alright, and as for the Raiders, they were on the receiving end of a red-hot Roosters team gunning for Origin jerseys, getting torched 44 points to 16. It's a tough one for me. Personally, I don't think the Raiders were that bad. I thought the Roosters just had a day out and were just far too fast for the Raiders. They just couldn't match their speed on the edges, and yeah, I don't think they played that bad. They just couldn't match the Roosters. Maybe that's a bad take. Maybe it's not. But it's not doom and gloom for the Raiders. One thing I will say about the Raiders, I do feel that they do have a bit of an aging roster. The likes of Rapana. You compare Rapana to, say, Walsh, Fuller, Armstrong, right? There's a very big, not skill gap, but just a difference in intensity, a difference in speed, a difference in attacking flair. And the game's changed so much since Rapana came in, and he does lack a bit of creativity that some of the other fullbacks do have. And even some of their forward packs. I mean, big Josh Papali has really been a shell of himself this season. They have brought well. I think Morgan Smithies has been great for them. Danny Levi's been really good on return. KO Weeks and Ethan Strange have been outstanding in the halves. I really do think that Jamal Fogarty has his work cut out for him to get that 7 jersey back. He's obviously got the stronger long kicking game. But in terms of attack, I think Weeks has brought a lot with his running game. And then obviously Ethan Strange similarly has a very, very good running game and has defensively been on another level. So really, really good signs for the Raiders. Like I say, I don't think they played poorly. They just were outplayed by the Roosters. All right, let's take a look at teams list for the Raiders this week. I don't believe, actually, I think only Hudson Young is involved with Origin. So that will be the one Origin force change for the Milk this week. Apart from that, I think everything is BAU for the Raiders. Again, a fairly strong side on paper. All right, looking at the two sides head to head, they have only played twice up until this point, with both sides earning one win apiece. The Raiders squeaked home with a 1-point win in April last year, and the Dolphins secured a 6-point win against the Raiders at the exact stadium they're playing at again this week to kick off their campaign in 2023. The live odds, they currently have the Finns as favourites at $1.64, with the Raiders coming back at $2.30. The points line is currently 3.5, and again, the over and under wasn't up when I was making these graphics. So if you do want to check out the current over and under, scan that QR code and check out SpinBet now. Again, I feel like I say this every week, so apologies, but this is a tough game to tip, guys. You've got the Raiders, who have been really, really impressive this season. They've obviously lost a few they shouldn't have, but for the most part have really shown a ton of resilience, a ton of fight, and a ton of, I guess, a will to win. And on the reverse, you've got the Finns, who have similarly done something very similar, right? Fell away last season, came back. They're near full strength. They've dealt with injuries. They've had players come in and do a job for them. You talk about a coin flip. Let's take a look at some of the stats for a second. So, the Dolphins have scored 48 tries through 11 rounds. They're currently the third highest attacking side in the competition, with the Raiders 39 tries in 11 games, making them 10th out of 17 teams. In terms of points conceded, the Dolphins currently sit at 6th, which is good. So obviously first would be the least amount, so 6th on the ladder with 35 tries conceded in 11 games, whereas the Milk have conceded 49 tries in 11 games, ranking them 14th out of 17 teams. I am going to take the Finns here. I'm going to take the Finns 1-12 to bounce back. Similar to the Raiders, I don't think they were awful against the Warriors. They just couldn't defend their line at the end of the game there and came up with a few errors. But if they can tidy that up, they have shown without Hamiso that they can score points. And the Raiders obviously have shown a lot of will to come back in games, but have had to do that because they have conceded points. So for me, I am going to take the Dolphins at home 1-12. All right. A nice short round this week, only 5 games, obviously, with Origin Game 1 on Wednesday. So we have the final game of round 13, which is the 5th placed Sydney Roosters hosting the 12th placed North Queensland Cowboys at Allianz Stadium on Sunday. All right, starting first with the Roosters, we did just touch on it with the Raiders game, but they put on an absolute attacking clinic in Canberra, cruising home to victory 44 points to 16. I thought James Tedesco was really, really good, and he obviously had a lot to play for in, I guess, a potential Origin recall, which wasn't to be. I thought Spencer Leniu was unreal off the bench. Like, just every run, he was breaking tackles and making an extra 5 to 10 meters. And again, thoroughly deserves that Origin call-up. I believe it's his debut. I think he may have been, in the wider squad in years gone by, but this should be his first official appearance. So, big congrats to Spencer Leniu. Speaking of Origin, the Roosters, they do have a fair chunk of players out involved in that game. You've obviously got Leniu, as I just touched on. You've got Suali'i also making his Origin debut this week, so a big loss joining New South Wales. You've got Lindsay Collins out with Queensland, and you've got the Egan Butcher also out this week with a knee injury. And I believe Angus Crichton is on Origin as well. So there you go. A few players out with Origin, and a few players out for injury. Cowboys line too high, 100%. 16 points is ludicrous. This would have been earlier today, so it potentially may have come down now that teams lists have been released. But completely agree. 16 points for a Roosters side missing a few key players. I'd be lapping up 16.5 in a heartbeat. All right, where are we at? Cowboys. And as for the Cowboys, they produced another vintage North Queensland performance, looking both brilliant and awful all at the same time, but still managed to outscore the West Tigers 42 points to 28. North Queensland, as they so often do, started fast and they looked red hot once again. Switched off and found once they'd found the lead, which is, something they did in both halves and something they've done in so many games recently. They seem to, I don't know, I've said it before, they seem to like being behind. Like, that spurs them into action. If they're up by 20 points, they like to let their foot off the gas for a wee bit, and let their opposition back into the game, which is just madness. I feel sorry for Todd Payton. There's a clear reason why his hair is not growing back anymore. In terms of standouts, I thought Val Holmes was great. He ran for over 200 metres and bagged a try double. And he obviously avoided any serious consequences for that, contentious hip drop tackle that saw him sin-binned. He's obviously been selected for Origin 1. And he's not alone too, with obviously Murray Taulagi, Jeremiah Nanai, Reece Robson, Tom Dearden, and Ruben Cotter all involved on Maroons duty. So massive reshuffle of the North Queensland side this week. Obviously Drinkwater's still there at fullback. You got Kyle Fout, Tom Chester comes in. The halves pairing will be Jake Clifford with Chad Townsend. And then a few changes throughout the interchange bench. A very new look North Queensland side up against a fairly unchanged Roosters side. You've got Tedesco fullback, Tupou wing, Manu Young, Kerry Walker, JWH, Brandon Smith, Tyrell May. I mean, now I think about it, maybe that 16.5 points isn't big enough, because that's basically a full strength Roosters side. Anyway, all right. Looking at the two sides head to head, the Roosters have won 5 of the last 6 games against the Cowboys. And the Cowboys have never beaten the Roosters at Queensland Country Bank Stadium, which is irrelevant, Josh, because they're not playing at Queensland Country Bank Stadium, they're playing at Allianz. So give me 2 secs while I correct my stat on the fly. All right, looking at the record at Allianz, they have played 5 games at Allianz, with the Roosters winning 4 and the Cowboys winning their lone game at the stadium back in 2017. They haven't played there since the stadium has reopened, though. That will be the old Allianz Stadium. So Roosters do have a good record against the Cowboys at the venue, or at least at the venue with that name. Fairly straightforward one for me, in my opinion. This is probably the most straightforward game of the week. I think the Roosters, like I just touched on, have a really, really strong side. The Cowboys have looked pretty awful at full strength, so I can't imagine. Actually, I take that back. I think the Cowboys may look better this week. I think they have a lot of people on there that will want to improve and prove that they are worthy of that spot. There's obviously potentially some room up for grabs with the current performance in the Cowboys side. So all these young guns or guys that haven't had a good look in at the side this week, or at this season, have a really good chance this week to show their worth and to put up a fight against the Roosters. So I do expect it to be maybe close, but then again, yeah, it's, for me, Roosters 13 plus. But hopefully for Cowboys fans, their team does show a bit of fight up against the Roosters. All right, bang, and just like that, we are done for another week. The first ever live stream done and dusted. I didn't even write down who I've tipped, so I've forgotten, but I'm pretty sure I have tipped the Parramatta Eels by 1 to 12, the Bulldogs 1 to 12, the Penrith Panthers 1 to 12, the Dolphins 1 to 12, and the Roosters 13 plus. So thank you as always for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. I think maybe while we are live, I may just do a bit of Q&A if you guys want to drop some questions in the chat quickly for the upcoming games, or just questions in general. I'll stay on for a wee bit and we can run through those. This video will obviously be uploaded to YouTube straight after this, so feel free to come back and check it out. Tell a friend. Join our free Discord, which is on by scanning that QR code on screen right now. We also scan the other QR code to check out SpinBet. Big thanks to them for sponsoring these videos going forward. Like I say, they're still in the process of getting their sports book off the ground. But we have some really, really exciting things in the works, like special boosted odds just for subscribers, allowing the Discord to choose the odds that we boost or the legs that we boost, and so much more. So big thank you to SpinBet. But yeah, I'll stay on for a few minutes, and if there's no questions, then we'll run it back next week. I'll just change the old graphic up the top. How about who you guys tipping? Let me see your guys' tips for all 5 games in the comments. Yeah, I want to know who you guys are tipping. Are you with me? Do you have anything different? Do you see it differently to me? Let me know. How did I pick all those try scorers this weekend? Well, you'll have to join the Discord and find out, mate. I need to take a leaf out of your book, though, Bronco. I've obviously seen some of your slips, mate, and very, very impressive. How do I pick the try scorers? Actually, that's a great segue, mate. I use my own data. So if you don't know, we do have, I do run my Patreon, which basically gives you access to my extensive NRL statistics, analysis, and breakdowns. It's all the good stuff you need to land some big bets, as you'll see from the wins last week. You have things like tries scored by position, tries conceded by position, for and against at either side of half time, first try scorer stats, last try scorer stats, you name it. Anything you need to land a big punt, it's all in there. Memberships do start from as little as $5 a week, so really, really affordable. And you know, that support really does help keep the show on the road. I spend a lot of time making these videos, and you know, having those Patreon memberships really, you know, gives me the free time to get this done. So thank you to all our current subscribers. And you know, big shout out a big thank you if you do want to join as well. Blues or Maroons. So I'm obviously a New Zealander, so I have no, I guess, natural allegiance to either team. But I guess being a New Zealander, we love to back the underdog. So I am a New South Wales supporter, given the fact that when I started watching, they were getting pumped year after year after year after year. So I will be cheering for the Blues. But looking at those stats, looking at those teams lists, I do think Queensland have named a stronger side. Obviously, I think Fafita it's ludicrous that Fafita isn't in that side. But then again, I also think that, you know, some of the decisions to have Cobbo on the bench could really be a game changer. So for me, I think the Maroons probably get game 1 to 12. But I will certainly be cheering for New South Wales to get the win. Yeah, looking forward to it. That's one of my favourite times of the year. Me and my friends, we always go out and make a big occasion of it, even though we aren't true Aussies. It's still such a great spectacle for the game. Is SpinBet NZ only? Yes, I believe so at this stage. They are in the process of getting everything else sorted. They're also in the process of doing their bet builder, so they're still, like I say, just getting the sportsbook part of their business off the ground, and so I'm helping, I guess, with that, and we'll look to get the bet builder and multi-side of things going. So, yeah. You got the Warriors in green on the Dolphins game list. Oh, my bad. Sorry, guys. Yeah, if you see any issues with the graphics, shout them out, because obviously, you know, it's a lot of manual work and it's very easy to make mistakes. So thanks for calling that out. I'll make sure to fix that up. Cool. We might just call it there, guys. The questions seem to have rolled in. I don't want to waste your guys' time. But again, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. This is only the first stream we've ever done, so we'll certainly refine the process, improve the graphics, make sure you guys, you know, get what you want out of it without wasting too much of your time, because you know, I don't want to ramble on for hours and hours like some other channels. But W's in the chat. Join the Discord, guys. Appreciate all the support, and I'll see you in the next one.